the lighting is going to be bad and my hair is going to be bad and I haven't got any makeup on and I haven't adjusted myself before I made this video. And I was thinking back for anyone who ever followed me from the very, very beginning, which was back in 2016 on The Adventures of Suze, how I used to make my videos just like I am right now with my iMac. I didn't have any fancy phones and I didn't, I didn't edit, I didn't nothing. And I think I've been trying to make a video for a long time to kind of share where I'm at, and I've been avoiding it because it's hard. And I think I can only speak as myself. I can only speak as a woman, and I feel like as a woman there's so much pressure to be pretty, to be nice, and to be filtered as fuck. And there's so much filtering, and I think this is, why the authenticity challenge has been so needed. And I think at times I've betrayed my own challenge because, self-doubt has crept in, self-judgment has crept in, and I don't always feel good enough. I don't feel pretty enough. I don't feel beautiful enough. I don't feel maybe even worthy enough of, having a voice and having something to say. I don't often believe that anyone even cares what I have to say. They're too busy paying attention to what my body looks like. And what I've been wanting to talk about is, is the journey of the Authenticity Challenge, what it's meant to me as a social experiment, and how maybe it's kind of gone a bit wrong in a way, and how I'm trying to navigate myself back away from the direction that it ended up heading. So I want to talk a little bit about my journey. I'm sorry if you know my journey and this is old news, but for anyone tuning in maybe for the first time, this will be new to you. So where to start? So the Authenticity Challenge started in 2016. A friend of mine in the Dominican Republic died, and I got in touch with his best friend, and we became friends over WhatsApp, and we were messaging each other. And after getting to know me for quite a while, he turned around to me and he said, "You judge yourself too fucking much." And he encouraged me to get online and set up a challenge where I would just share all sides of myself no matter what. And at the time I was an actress and an artist, if you can consider it. I don't consider myself a fine artist. I consider myself, if I'm an artist at all, I'm a messy artist. I'm not a fine classical artist in any way. I'm maybe more of a performing artist if I am anything, and for the last few years, I've dabbled in and out of being an artist, but more in private, if anything. There is some stuff on Patreon, but a lot of my stuff I just keep to myself. And I've just become a vlogger. And so when that challenge got set up on YouTube, it was public, so anyone could watch it, but it was not, it wasn't really public in the sense that no one was watching it, because the only people that I had invited to watch it were, at the time, the friend who set the challenge up and 2 or 3 others. So, I would be going on YouTube and I would feel really, really free because there were only 4 people watching it. And so the idea was to accept all of myself in public, okay? And so even though it had this creative brief of, this is the challenge and you got to do this in public, the public that I had was very, very small. So that allowed for a lot of freedom. And you've also got to bear in mind that I had just done a naked retreat. And why did I go on a naked retreat? I wasn't into nudity. I wasn't a naturist of any sort. I was actually researching eco-living and I had been plowing through the internet trying to read up about, you know, eco living, earthships. I was very interested in the idea of living off grid. I was extremely dissatisfied with living in London. I felt it was very isolating and cold and concrete, and I didn't understand why we were all living in houses divided by fences, you know, where we're all in our little house. We're each paying for internet. We're each paying everything separate. And in the meantime, you know, the kids are not in the gardens hanging out with everyone. Everyone's just in their little boxes, you know, and this suddenly just stopped making sense to me because I was very, very isolated in my flat in London. And actually, you know, when I did eventually develop an audience with the Authenticity Challenge, it gave me some kind of connection that I craved at the time, that I needed, that I couldn't quite get in London. You know, I would go to workshops, I would go to events, and I would maybe mingle with the people there, but I never really felt like I had a tribe. I never really felt like I fitted in anywhere. I would flip from here to there, maybe having, you know, friends, but not really community. And I really craved community. So then I came across this this guy who was talking about eco living, and he made a documentary on some people who were living in London. I think it was West London, somewhere under a bridge. I can't remember where. And they had set up sort of homes, camps. I don't know exactly what you'd call them, you know. And they were trying to get away from the system, and this was something that I really aligned with. So I followed this person online and came across their Facebook page, and turned out that they were running a naked retreat, and it was just like, okay. And at the time I had had a breakup, and I was still kind of recovering from that, and I basically just wanted to get away and have some sun, and I really liked the vibe, you know, of this guy. And then, you know, he was in a couple, so we had a Skype, and I met them, and we got on really well. And I was invited to come and do this naked retreat. So naked meant naked in body and naked in word. So when you're naked in your word, you are transparent, you are authentic, you're sharing like this. It's not scripted, you know, it's not shiny, it's not like Facebook faces, it's not any of that. It's just turning up rough as you are. You know, it's finding that light in yourself that maybe you had when you were a child, when you're in a state of endless play and wonder and awe, and you're not judging yourself. You're not constantly observing yourself from the outside like we do now, where everyone's taking selfies and they're thinking about how they're going to look when they go up on Instagram. You know, we're always one step removed from ourselves. There's ourselves, and then there's the part of us that's observing ourselves at the time, and then the part of ourselves that observing ourselves there, and then with what the audience might think, and then, you know, hoping for the likes and the external validation that everyone's craving, because deep down I feel like what we're really craving is connection, and we don't know how to get it. And in a result of all this, you know, desperation for connection, we're actually just reaching for external validation, and we're all just becoming a bunch of narcissists. So so I learn things as I talk, you know, and this is why for me it's really lovely to be in flow. So one of the ways that we learned this concept of being naked in your word, it was called transparent communication. It's also called sharing circles, can be used as conflict resolution strategy. But really in this situation of the retreat, it was just about sitting in a circle with a group of people and just speaking your truth. You know, and I do believe that the truth will set you free, which is why I've been wanting to make this video for some time now. But there's been so much resistance because I've been blaming it on the fact that there's construction outside my house, and I can't vlog from home any day except for Sunday at the moment. And then, you know, my perfectionism crept in, which is like, everyone is so shiny on Facebook, and I would really like to be shiny too. You know, it's very vulnerable and challenging for me to constantly be this raw and be sharing my behind the scenes while everyone else is sharing their show reel, you know. Hi, subscribe to my channel. So, so from that naked retreat, you know, it was interesting because when I first went, I remember the week before, I had this obsession with getting my nails done. And it's like, I don't know why. I think it was like, it was the one thing I could control about myself. You know, I didn't know how I'd feel about being naked in a group of people. You know, I hadn't, you know, as women, we don't often get to see other women naked, you know, and I didn't know how I would measure up, you know, and it made me a little bit anxious. So I was trying to hold on to something that I could, which was having nice nails. So if all else fails, I would have nice nails. I didn't get my nails done in the end, but this was what was going through my mind. I should just get my nails done. So yeah, so I went on the retreat and I learned transparent communication, and for me, that form of communication has really impacted my life in a big way. And after that, I ended up wanting to give back from the retreat. It was a gifted retreat, so you paid a certain amount just to cover the cost of the living and the food and everything. But then whatever you felt you received from the retreat, you would gift back. It's often called gift economy. So I gifted them some more money. And then I offered to look after their daughter for them and stay in Malta. So I was living with them, and then they got invited to go to the Dominican Republic and do another retreat there. And I didn't even know where the Dominican Republic was. Forgive my ignorance, but I just didn't. And but there was a feeling inside me, you know, like I just feel like I want to go. So when we were having a sharing circle in their house, which we used to do once a week, I said, I don't know why, but I just really want to come with you. And I didn't get the sense that it was a yes. So I didn't want to be disappointed. So I remember going into my bedroom and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to come up with a plan B. And my plan B at the time was to go to Hawaii and learn Tantra, you know. I don't think I even really knew what Tantra was. But I wanted to have a plan B so that I wouldn't be disappointed if I got rejected. So anyway, a week later, I was told by them that actually, you know, they really liked the photos that I took on the retreat, and they really liked the videos that I made, and maybe I could come and help like that. And I was also a Pilates teacher, and I could help facilitate. So that's what I did. I paid my flight, I went with them, and I facilitated on the retreat. It was a very, very, very life-changing experience. And then, you know, later on, as I said, this friend died. I met his friend, and then the challenge got set up. And so for the first, I don't know, I think it was about 4 days, I was just showing up like this, just, you know, just talking about stuff, sharing about where I was at. And then on, I think it was the 4th or 5th day, I just grabbed my phone at the time, excuse me, and I put it on the top of the toilet seat, and I just started filming myself doing my usual morning routine, which was a warm oil massage, which is a technique from Ayurveda. So in the video, I'm just showing you how I do this, how I heat up the water, and I rest a bowl on top to heat the oil, and I pour the sesame oil in, and then I show you how, you know, to massage the joints and how you work the face and how it gives you longevity of the skin and, you know, this kind of things that I had been learning. And yeah, I was topless because I can't massage with my jumper on. And because there was only 4 people following and they were my friends, I just had this freedom. It just felt completely normal to me to be naked. I had always been topless around beaches when I was growing up, you know, and I only had a couple of paracetamols here anyway because I didn't really have much boob, you know, and to the horror of my little sister who just thought it was appalling. I've always felt very, very free like that, and I guess I've always been a little bit provocative. I always like to push the boundaries. I always like to explore the status quo. I always like to ask why. Because that way, by asking why and, you know, questioning things and then really questioning things and looking at things and experiencing things, I get to find out where, you know, my understanding of the world and where my line is, you know, what's my truth, you know, what's my yes and what's my no. And I find for myself as a personality, and I've discovered that if you've done the Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFP personality. I kind of work things out by doing. So I might not know how I feel about something until I do it. And then I might course correct. I might suddenly go, oh yeah, I'm not really going in the right direction, but I had to experience it to feel that. And so, yeah, and so suddenly I went from having 4 followers in a very short space of time. I think it was something quite um, explosive, like I suddenly had 1,000 people in a week, and then it sort of kept building. And it was a bit like, whoa, it was really, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was fun and exciting. I'd never had a YouTube channel, and I grew up in the 80s and 90s where it was all about fame. So, it was all really exciting for a moment, And at the same time, I was also flooded with this fear of like, oh no, maybe people are going to expect this of me, and that's not the point. I'm not going to be here showing up naked every day. This is just because that's what I was doing in that particular moment, and it's natural to me. It's not there to provoke, and it's not there to get attention. It was just me doing my normal routine, and then I would get in the bath and I would put my bath mat and my towel like on the radiator so that when I came out of the bath, it was my little luxury. I had been living in a hostel before that for 15 months, which is another story we'll leave for another day. But, so for me, having got this apartment, it was finally like, oh, I'm going to give myself some luxury. So I bought myself an Egyptian cotton bath mat and an Egyptian cotton towel. And it was very much like I would heat it up and put it down. So the experience of coming out and putting my feet on the bath mat and wrapping myself in a towel was just a very self-nurturing act for me. So I was really just sharing what I would do, in the winter. But yes, it really expanded my subscribers. And so suddenly I had a lot of people tuning in to watch this experiment. And I remember that point where I guess it's like the Adam and Eve thing, where you suddenly become self-conscious when you weren't self-conscious before, and I'm not an expert on the Bible. It's not something I've studied, but my understanding, for example, of original sin, I don't believe that the original sin was nakedness. They were quite happily invited to be naked, because actually I struggle with the word naked, because actually we're not naked. I'm dressed now, but when I'm not dressed, I'm not naked. I'm not missing something. I'm not lacking anything. I'm just myself, right? But we're so used to being clothed that if you're not clothed, we've sort of misinterpreted in my understanding that's a sin. But what I believe is the sin is the self-consciousness. And it's the self-consciousness that became the sin, because we were never supposed to be self-conscious. And that's where I feel like things have got a bit messed up and misconstrued. And so anyway, so I kind of was like, do I go, do I continue with this? Do I shy away from it, or do I embrace it? And I think there was a part of me that was like, well, I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't mean for this to happen. It wasn't really an intention, but this is what has shown up. So this is what it is, right? So this is now the experiment. And I guess because of doing the 2 retreats, I was, just really getting an experience of the difference of how free and childlike you can feel when everyone's naked. And what's funny is I think you would assume that with a naked retreat that it would be all very, very sexual. And obviously we're adults, and energy can happen amongst people, but that was not for me the main thing that came up. For me, what I discovered within my nudity actually was a sense of, I don't know if humility is the right word, but kind of. It's not that it made me shy, but I wasn't able to embellish myself with clothes. And I think embellishing myself with colors and clothes and, accentuating how I want to look. I rarely ever wear anything like this. I would always have things off the shoulders or belts, or, I like to style things up. And so, sorry, I just got distracted by the noise outside. So, yeah, I was just kind of getting to grips with the difference with myself when I was naked, which was actually that, yeah, it was a sense of slightly more humility, if you like. It wasn't super extroverted confidence. It was kind of the opposite in a way. And I quite liked that, you know. It was like, it was more me, it was more real. It wasn't, you know, I couldn't embellish with anything because, you know, I didn't have anything to embellish myself with. It was just this, you know. And, you know, obviously, you know, when you're not used to seeing people naked, a lot of your insecurities might rear up. You know, mine might be that my boobs are too small or they're smaller than other women, you know, and whatever other insecurities that might show up. So I must have done about 88 vlogs. I vlogged every single day, and I must have done about 88 vlogs until my channel got taken down. I think my channel was taken down by a troll, someone who was following me who made a suggestive comment that I didn't like, and maybe the way I responded wasn't great, but you know, I was really wanting to express that I'm a human, and you know, we still need to have respect for the people creating the videos, you know, not to treat them just like they're a commodity, just because they're entertainment. You know, they're actually people on the other end, and you know, comments that you leave might affect that person for someday. So yeah, he did threaten to flag my videos. He flagged my videos, and my whole channel came down. And you know, all this work that I'd done just completely disappeared one day into thin air. And part of me was relieved because I was like, oh, thank goodness, you know, all those awful videos of me just like, you know, just talking away and just like looking, you know, whatever, have just completely disappeared. There's absolutely no evidence of them. How refreshing. So there was that part of me that was like, okay, that's fine. And obviously there was another part of me that was like, wow, that was a lot of work. And now I have no way of connecting with those 3,000 people who had been watching my challenge. So then I discovered something called VidMe. It was a really great platform. I really liked it. Especially loved the tip me button. They had a tip me button, and if you liked the video, you could tip me. It was really sweet, and I really liked that. It was fun. It was fun, and it was interactive. It was mostly gamers, so I mean, I don't think many people had vlogs, but hey, I just needed somewhere to be where maybe I would be a bit more protected than YouTube, because YouTube doesn't seem to protect the creators. It you know, seems to care more about the audience in a way. So I moved there, and then I started making money. And it's a funny thing when you start making money. It can kind of interrupt the flow. You know, I liked the freedom that I had on YouTube at that time. I don't believe that there's the same freedom anymore. I believe that people are being pulled down for having different beliefs than YouTube wants them to have. I feel like there is a lot of, you know, violence or sexual content that doesn't get taken down, but then, you know, you just being your natural self can get taken down, which is, you know, it's a bit, you know, it's something to get the head around. So yeah, I carried on vlogging. I had to adjust to being on a different platform, and then I don't know how long it was, maybe 8 months, and then VidMe collapsed as a company. I remember that their motto was the most creative friendly platform, and the way that they bowed out was by not letting us contact our followers to let them know and find a way to redirect them somewhere else. So as far as I was concerned, it was like hashtag epic fail. So couldn't contact my followers. I didn't have a mailing list. I didn't have anything like that. I set up a Facebook page and just hoped that people would find me. And then eventually I set up a new YouTube name, but because the other one was pulled down, I couldn't even use the same name. So I had to create a new name, which became This Is Suze. And then everyone was like, you know, where are you going to go? Are you going to go on Vimeo? Where are you going to go? And so in the end, I chose Patreon. But I wanted to have the freedom to do whatever I wanted, and that wasn't possible on a public page on Patreon. You need to set it as an 18 plus, which has always been a bit icky for me, because 18 plus or non-safe for work, it kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it puts me in a box. I don't feel like it's a, it's not a celebration of the natural body. It's more like a perversion somehow. It's like this naughty place where naughty people go to watch naughty content. And that didn't really feel like me, and it didn't really feel aligned to me. And I suppose if I think about it, that's probably because I judge the people who do that kind of content. And but I needed a place to put my stuff where I had complete freedom, because it was the authenticity challenge. I couldn't be in a place where I couldn't express myself freely and call it an authenticity challenge. So I needed to have the option of of being naked, if that's what felt natural to me in that moment when I was filming. And I think that's been something that for a lot of people that's been very hard to understand, because I think it's natural that they would judge me and put me in a box. But this was a social experiment of authenticity, so it needed to have that that parameter of possibility, which really meant that it made my audience smaller. There is no traffic going to an 18 plus channel on Patreon. You don't get celebrated. I remember when I launched on Patreon, after all this work, being channels coming down and everything, I think I launched around $2,000, which is quite unusual on Patreon. A lot of people, just tell their friends and family, and they maybe get $50. So it was a really epic launch. But because I was on an 18 plus channel, I didn't get recognized by Patreon. I'm not invited to do, talk on Patreon or join the events that they invite other creators to, which always felt a bit disappointing for me. But anyway, I stayed there because, I needed this freedom. And so actually nudity became the subject predominantly which I explored, because the challenge is to accept all sides of myself. Well, maybe accepting myself as my body, in my body, and accepting all of that, that's part of the challenge. I think where it sort of felt like it went a bit wrong was when it sort of became the challenge, and that was never the intention. And I think that's why recently, this year especially, I've really shied away from Patreon. I took 2 months off at the beginning of the year, and I took another 2 months off just recently, because it was like, this doesn't sit right with me anymore. I mean, it's one thing to make money from it. Also, ish doesn't sit right. But then, if I am producing a video every single day on YouTube and making content on Patreon, that takes up a lot of time. And if I'm not being paid for that, I probably wouldn't have I probably wouldn't be able to produce that much content. So I like the idea of doing it full time. I really love the idea of being a full-time creative content maker, which I can essentially say that I have become because of this process and this freedom. But yeah, it was starting to feel like the nudity wasn't sitting right with me, because, and this is where I found what my line was, and this is how I discover things in the process of doing things. The line for me was, sorry, I got something in my teeth. I just made dinner. It's quite late. So one second. So the line for me is, where is my authenticity? And the line that I feel like I've discovered now is, there is a big difference between what I feel like doing and what I should be doing. And for me, especially as an ENFP, if you study the personality types, because I really relate to this, but I will always feel out of authenticity if I'm not doing what feels right. But the issue for me sometimes is, I can sometimes have a bit of a delayed reaction to my feelings. Sometimes it's a very, very, very long time. I mean, you're not just talking like half an hour or a day. Sometimes it's weeks or even months before I can kind of factor everything in, calibrate everything and get it into my body and really understand how I feel about something, which might sound crazy. But, this can sometimes happen, I don't know, after a breakup with someone. I can't quite work out what's going on, and so it takes me a long time to really know how I feel about it. And during the process, I'll go through a myriad of different emotions and everything. So I've been going through this for some time now, and I've known for a while that I need to make this video. But what was coming up for me was like, oh, I have to do it in the bath because, you know, that's kind of where I vlog, and there's been so much construction, so it's been too noisy. And then I was planning like, oh, maybe I should do it in nature, and then I'll go up to the cliff and do that, you know. And I don't know. I think all of it was really just procrastination because, you know, it's, for me, it's been a very heavy weight, and it's something that I feel very vulnerable about. I feel very, very, very worried about being judged. And I've been thinking a lot about judgment recently, and how when we're judging someone else, we're not really loving them. And actually, usually for me, the people that I'm most worried about judging me are the people that don't like me anyway. You know, because if you think about your friends, you know, they might have preferences for you because they love you and they want you to be your best self. So, you know, they might, you know, reflect back to you and give you feedback, or they might even guide you if they think you're going off your path. But they're doing that out of love, you know. But I'm talking about the people that judge you as in the kind of like, yeah, you know, she does not safe for work content. Yeah, you know, these kind of people, you know, who are, you know, I mean, judgment often, but not always, can come from envy or jealousy for some reason, or it's because it's something within themselves that they don't accept. So if I'm judging someone else, it's either because I've adopted a belief from my parents or my family or my upbringing that says what this other person is doing is wrong. It's either that, or I won't accept that within myself. You know, it might be a combination of my beliefs that I've adopted, and it might also be that I project onto that person that what they're doing is wrong, but actually it's because I reject that within myself. You know, so, you know, we don't really have control over changing anyone else, but we can change ourselves. So if we notice that we're judging someone else, we want to look within ourselves and say, where do I reject that behavior or that quality within myself? Yeah, or maybe, you know, it's a bit like, I don't know, maybe if someone's loud and you are like, oh gosh, that person's so loud. It might be actually that you wish you could be loud, but you were brought up all the time by saying, shh, stop making so much noise. And so that part of yourself, you've, you know, put in a box and like, I can never be loud. And so actually when you hear someone being loud and they have the freedom to be loud, you actually feel a bit envious or resentful because actually you wish you could, you know? So I sometimes feel like this in groups of people. I find it quite hard to fit in groups for a long period of time. I often feel like I get pushed out of groups or pushed out of communities. And I think the reason for me is that what I envy in those people is that they're kind of able just to morph to whatever the values and the belief system of that group is without needing to be an individual. Whereas for me, if I'm not showing up as an individual, it's usually because, you know, I'm usually, if I'm kind of just morphing with the group, it's because I'm trying to fit in, or because I'm afraid of showing up in my authentic way and being rejected. So that might last for a small period of time while I'm getting to know a group and I want them to like me. But after a while, for me, it's very hard to stay in a group if I don't feel like I can be authentic. You know, if I feel like I have to adopt someone else's values and belief, like I have to adopt the values and belief of the herd, you know, and if they don't make sense to me, I just can't keep that down. I can't pretend you know, that I'm cool with that, because I would just feel out of authenticity. So yeah, so, you know, if I were to look at someone who has non-safe for work content, you know, I know within myself that I might label them, you know, I might label them a slut, or it's awful, you know, it's total conditioning, and I'm aware of that, you know. And we never know the full story, you know. But actually also sometimes, let's say, I mean, my content is never sexual. My content is nudity. That's it. You know, I might be dancing naked. I might be doing yoga naked. I might be even cleaning my kitchen naked, but like, it's not sexual. It's just, you know, it's just being naked, you know. So if I see women, for example, that are doing sexual things, I don't know, maybe I judge them, but actually what's really going on is that, like, maybe, I don't know if it's about envy, but yeah, maybe I know that within myself I don't have the freedom to do that because of my values and my belief system, you know. And there's part of me that was like, oh, I've shown up as a being on this earth, you know. I obviously wanted to be here and try everything and experience everything and try and understand it all and like work out where my line is and, you know, what has meaning for me. And I kind of want to explore everything. So there's a part of me that's like, I would love to be able to explore it with that sense of like childlike adult wonder, and yeah, and know for myself by doing. But there are certain things for me that are just a no. And I think with that no, sometimes I want to know, does that come because that's what I've been told is good and bad? Because as children, we love our parents so much, we want to please them. And if they've told you that's bad and that's good about yourself and that's bad, that you should be ashamed of that one. But that's good, you know, you're a good girl, but you're a bad person, you know. So we start to go, you know, compartmentalize all the bits of ourselves that are good and all the bits of ourselves that are bad. If they're bad, it's like, shove it in the cupboard, don't you dare come out again. You know, we repress that side of ourselves. And then if it shows up in someone else, we project onto them names, you know, and labels. We call them a slut, or we call them, I don't know, a player, or I don't know, whatever you judge in someone else. You might call someone selfish. But, you know, for example, let's say you're calling someone selfish. Maybe it's actually because you would never allow yourself to show up and to express yourself freely and be an individual. And so when you see someone else doing it, you feel like they're selfish because maybe they're not fitting in with the group, you know. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but I think for me to the most part now, I feel like there's a shift happening. And I know I've been saying this for a while. Like sometimes my patrons will say to me, yeah, you've been saying you're gonna, you know, I wanted to make this documentary series at one point entitled To Pleasure. And I, you know, when I'm making any form of art or social experiment, I let the idea grow within me before I'm ready to launch it. You know, some things take ages before they happen. But, you know, one of my patrons pointed out that it had been a year that I'd been talking about this and I never actually did it, you know. So, you know, it's if that is happening, then it's probably because there's something that's not feeling quite right within me. It's like, it's not quite lining up. I'm not completely at peace with it, you know. There's something like, you know, and I feel it in my body. I've been feeling it for a long time now. It's been feeling really, really heavy and uncomfortable because the truth will set us free. And I felt like I needed to confess, you know, the journey. And, you know, there's been so much that I've learned, you know, but some of it's been painful and some of it I haven't felt quite in line with my integrity or my authenticity because I've been showing up because I think people expect me to be naked. And that's, for me, that's really, really bad. That's when I'm out of alignment with my authenticity. So this is what I really needed to share, is that, you know, there's also a fear that, oh, maybe people only want to see my body and they're not really interested in what I have to say. And so maybe if I stop sharing my body because it doesn't really feel that exciting for me anymore. It doesn't, you know, it was never the intention to show my body. It was just for me to be myself. And now that I've done that, I've experienced that, it's not really a big deal, to be honest. And I don't feel like I need to explore that avenue much more. You know, it's like, you know, been there, done that, you know. So, you know, and and I've done lots and lots of photo shoots, nude photo shoots with really amazing photographers, and I've really explored that avenue. And I have to say, the good thing that came out of it is that I think I have a really healthy relationship with my body now. And I will make another video on, on healthy body and all that kind of stuff another time, because I would like to. Um, but I was a ballet dancer, and ballet dancers they're not exactly very healthy. Let's face it. They're malnourished and underweight and overworked, and have all kinds of injuries on a daily basis. So, for me, skinny was beautiful, and it took me a long time to be able to grow curves, to be able to have hips, to be able to have a bum, and for things to wobble, it just wasn't acceptable as a ballet dancer. Everything was bone. So, it took me a long time for that to happen, and for me to be okay with it and to accept it. And so I would say the process of just showing up naked and not really being a big deal, eventually, because it took some time. It was like a slow process. I've been on Patreon for 2 years. If you were to watch the original content, you'd probably see me grow in courage, and then you'll see phases when I lose my courage, and then it comes up, and then I lose it, and it's a process, right? And there's 2 years of content, of authenticity challenge, of photos, and in my top tier, I have all kinds of the creative stuff that I do. So it might be music videos or short films or little ideas and concepts that I come up with, not always around nudity, but, there is the freedom to be naked if I feel like I want to, or it suits it. But when it stopped feeling right was when I felt like, oh, that's what people expect of me. That's what I'm supposed to do. And anytime I'm supposed to do something, I'm such a rebel. It's just like, well, I just can't. I can't do something if I'm supposed to do it. It's just not. It doesn't feel right. So, yeah, I've known for a while that there needs to be a shift. Something needs to shift in me. I want to grow and evolve now. For a lot of people who do filtered as fuck videos and photos, for them, the challenge is to just do this and just show up raw with it's 11 o'clock at night, and, I've just got like some, just my lighting from my house. This is a lamp and there's a light up there. There's no camera lights. Obviously, I don't have some fancy 4G, or I don't know what the right word is, HD camera or anything, right now. And for a lot of people, that would be too much. That would be way too vulnerable. And it would also be way too vulnerable to do this in one take, So my videos, when I do it like this, are just in one take. For a lot of people, that's too vulnerable. Now, for me, now I've explored this, the process of doing it for this amount of time has meant that it's possible. I can do this and show up without judging myself. And at the same time, it's also still challenging for me because I still do judge myself. Like at the moment, I mean, I know I haven't done my hair today, so I don't know what the hell is fucking going on with this, it's like a bird's nest. But, for me, I feel very insecure about my hair at the moment because I'd love to have long flowing goddess hair, and, be really beautiful. And I feel like I just have this boy's hair, and I don't feel especially beautiful. And it makes me feel very vulnerable. I live on an island full of beautiful women, and it makes me feel vulnerable. It's something that I assume that if I'm not, then I won't be accepted. I'll be rejected. I won't be chosen, by men or even just by friends or whatever. I don't always find it that easy to go out with some form of makeup on. Usually I put some concealer here. I haven't done anything. I've got no makeup on, but normally I put concealer here. I might put like a little bit of foundation in certain spots and then some lipstick at the very least. I normally would do some eyeshadow here because my eyebrows seem to start a bit wide now. So I would do a bit of that. I haven't actually plucked my eyebrows for, I don't know, a few months, so they're not really looking great right now. I quite like the whole Madonna 80s thing anyway, but yeah, I would fill them in a little bit, put a little bit of eyeshadow on, then I put some, little white up here to, create space between the eyebrows and the eyes. I don't wear mascara anymore because, it's quite likely at some point in the day that I'll either cry or want to jump in the sea. So mascara in Goza just is never worn, and then I might put a bit of bronzer to, oh, we got some light. I don't know where that came from. I just went, and then the light came up. So that's it, so that's what I do. But this is what I look like when I don't have any makeup on, and I'm 39. So I'm self-conscious because I feel like I'm not as beautiful as other people. So there can be a lot of judgment about self. I often watch videos and I don't know, there's so many things I'm judging. There's so many things I'm judging about myself, which is why I rarely watch any of my videos back. I just put them up and I never watch them again, So it's really funny sometimes when people comment and they're commenting on something and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I don't know what I said. I don't want to have to watch the video back again. That'd be torture. Sometimes if I edit it, I have to watch it back. But, other than that, it depends if I'm wanting to edit it. Sometimes I'm editing it because I just want to put a bit of humor in it and kind of, do something like that, And that's also to do with vulnerability, feeling like I'm not enough if I just show up like this, like it's going to be boring, like it's not enough, I got to jazz it up a bit. And that comes from this kind of global disease that we have, that we're not good enough as we are, and someone was saying something that I thought was really wonderful, an observation about COVID the other day, which was that since COVID, for the first time ever, you get to see film stars like Matthew McConaughey just sitting there with his glasses on, in his lounge or wherever he is. You get to see movie stars and they've got kids running around in the background and it's just much more authentic, and it's, they don't have any choice because, I guess they don't have green screens at home or they don't have makeup artists and they're just showing up and it's really nice. It's really nice just to see real people doing real things. And people haven't been able to go out and get their nails done and, get their hair perfect and everything. Or you're like me and you just shave your hair off during lockdown, which, I did film live. I filmed it live for Patreon, but then, was also filming it for YouTube. So there's a small clip version of that on YouTube. You'll find it here, but if you want to watch I think the full one is like really long. I think it's like an hour because it takes a long time to shave the hair off and everything. So you can find that also on Patreon on my Authenticity Challenge, but I already feel a bit lighter just by talking about this because I've been so scared to talk about it because one of the problems for me is that, I want to move into other areas, I help people with their creativity. I also want to make more of my weird video art, which I like to make. I want to turn that into some kind of film. I want to get into music. There's so many things that I want to do, and I'm also a coach. So I don't want to be restricted. And also the other thing is sometimes I think, well, is it really doing me any favors? Having these videos on my channel, I don't know if you've seen the video where I'm undressing. It was just, it's just me having a silly moment where I came home from buying a dress in a charity shop and I put it on and then I was trying to get it off and it just made me laugh. And I literally just thought, oh, this is funny. I want to share this moment. And I hit the record button, and then I'm trying to take the dress off, and so then I just go free the nipples, and it's not really a big deal to me, but but what comes up inside me, I can literally feel it in my body when I'm talking about it, is in my head suddenly imagines these people watching it, not people who get me and are on my side and kind of know who I am and what I'm about, and they still take me seriously. They don't look at that and be like, well, I can't take you seriously as a professional because, they're well-rounded people. We know that we're human and some people admire it. Some people are inspired by it. Some people just think it's funny. It's just me being silly, and it's not a big deal. But suddenly, if I think of a certain person in my head, someone who might judge me, and I for a second embody imagining them looking at that content and what they're thinking of me. Oh, it's like my body's like, oh my God, they're totally going to reject me, you know? And yeah, so there's been many times where I thought, well, why didn't I just take those videos down? Why didn't I just take them off the channel? You know, it would be a smart thing to do, you know, and then just build my channel more in a way that I want it to be, which is, you know, more about what I've got to say, you know, more than what I look like. And yeah, but then my ego really loves the fact that one of my videos has 500,000 views. Oh, ego. Wherever she go, he goes. You know, and you know, at least I'm self-aware enough to know that about myself, the fact that it's really hard for me to take that video down because it's got 500,000 views. I might never, ever, ever get 500,000 views ever again. And it's like the ugliest video ever, you know. It's like, you know, a lot of people like, you look like a man, you look like Ellen DeGeneres but worse, you know. And I was like, yeah, I don't look good. Like, I don't know why you're all watching it. Like, why there's 500,000 views? Like, you know. So yeah, anyway, so I don't know, there's part of me that wants to take it down, and then there's part of me that's like, no, it's braver to keep it up. It's braver to be like, yeah, that was me at one point. It's maybe not me now. I don't know if I'd do that now. I probably might if YouTube was a bit more free and a bit more fun, but I feel like YouTube has become so censored and restricted that I don't feel that sense of fun and freedom that I used to when I first started. Or maybe I was just really naive and I just didn't think about it, and I was just having so much fun. I didn't have any self-judgment, and actually the self-judgment has crept in as time's gone on, you know. Really, it really depends on how I'm feeling about myself and, you know, what's going on in my life, whether I'm feeling confident or not confident. And, you know, I know that if someone rejects me, whether it's, you know, an intimate partner or friends or a community or a group of people, if I'm experiencing rejection, I know for me, that's when my confidence goes down a lot. And then when my confidence is down, that's when I start to judge myself based on what I imagine I'm getting rejected for. And that's when I feel like, I can't vlog, you know, it's too much. There's too much to think about. There's too many ways that I can be rejected. This is too painful. I can't go there. This is too vulnerable. This is going to bring up too many wounds. And I'm just going to be in pain, you know, because honestly, it's not been that easy. Honestly, this challenge has not been that easy showing up like this. I know you might think it is, but it hasn't actually been that easy. I've had so much self-doubt, and I have days where, you know, I just hate myself, or, you know, or where comments really affect me, or, yeah. But again, it's self-awareness going, okay, well, you know, this is growth to do with feeling like you need approval, or feeling like you need external validation when we don't need external validation. At the end of the day, the only one that we need to be sure that loves us is us. We need to be able to go and look in the mirror at the end of the day and be like, yeah, you did a good job today. You know, I'm proud of you. You know, it's not a good sign if you look in the mirror and you don't like who you see. And I think the times when I look in the mirror and I don't like who I see, it's generally because I'm not aligned with my integrity, or I'm out of authenticity. That's when I'm really not okay with myself, you know. So yeah, so I just wanted to share this because this is an important subject to me. I'm kind of at a crossroads. I want to make a transition into other things, making other content. I want to be a full-time creative content maker. That's what I consider myself to be. I don't consider myself to be an artist. I don't necessarily resonate with that word. I feel like it puts me in a box that I don't always fit in. I wouldn't consider myself just a vlogger. I'm just a creative content maker. I make creative content in all forms. Yesterday, I made an audio book I started, I think, at 11 in the morning, and I finished at like 1:30 in the morning, you know? Just didn't stop all day. I'm making a course on perfectionism. It just came to me. I was down at the sea and I'd been coaching some people who were struggling with this, and I thought, all right, let me just make a course for them on like how to overcome this. And I was just so inspired. I went home and I just didn't stop. And I made a 9-day course in one day without a script. And it felt wonderful. But today I have to admit I was exhausted, you know. But, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to actually, you know, I would love to have the money to be able to have a YouTube studio, you know, maybe just get a, you know, disused garage, or there's plenty of, you know, disused buildings even, where I can have a studio and where I can make creative content all the time, because, you know, at the moment that's not been the case. So, yeah, so I want to be free to do whatever I want, and I want to be able to get out of the boxes of non-safe for work content creator, or, you know, it's like, this is professional, this is not professional, or this makes you an artist and this doesn't make you an artist, or, you know, it's like, this is Suze, you know, the challenge is to accept all sides of myself, you know, and we have so many sides to ourselves, and sometimes they're like completely in conflict with one another. There's this internal dialogue, and then there's like, you know, the fear of like the external judgment going on. There's like how we perceive ourselves, how we want to be perceived. It's very complicated, you know, and it's all coming down to self-consciousness, which maybe is a sin, you know. Sin just means, I think it just means error, like, it's not wrongdoing. I think it means like an error, you know, like we've erred, we've erred, you know, like self-consciousness makes us err. Oh dear. Yeah. So yeah, you can't be authentic if you're judging yourself. You can't be authentic if you're self-conscious. How can we be self-conscious and authentic at the same time? Because, you know, this is why I think it's the original sin, because when we are conscious of ourselves, we're not authentic, because you know, when you're being, you're not observing yourself at the same time, unless you're schizophrenic or something, you know, you can't be split like that. So it's like children, when they're immersed in play, they're not like, oh, I'm playing, but yeah, like I'm just gonna take a selfie of me playing, you know, like they're not removed from themselves. They're just themselves, you know, and this is why we love them, because we watch them, and that's so freeing. You know, this is why we love spending time with children. I love spending time with children because they're just so present, and they're just so in love with what they're doing. They're just being, you know, and I think as adults, because of all this judgment, we spend less time being, and we're actually we're more in a space of doing, you know. We're doing the judgment of ourselves doing something, you know. It's like, God, it's exhausting way to be, right? You know. So yes, I someone that I've been coaching made a really funny video on perfectionism the other day, and she's uploaded it to YouTube, so I will be sure to post that in the you know, in the description underneath, because I'm so proud of her, and because it made me laugh so much. I've watched it, you know, a bunch of times. I'm sure you'll find it really funny. You know, if you're someone who has a bit of a perfectionist tendency, or you've ever tried to do something and all you're doing is judging yourself for like 100 different things, you know, your voice, your hair, what you say, I don't know, you know. And as a musician, she was just judging herself. It was so funny. You know, and she took 50 takes. But for me, it's like, you know, I know that if I went into that level of perfectionist, like I wouldn't be able to do this challenge. Like, really, you just have to show up when a video is coming out of me. Well, I just have to, you know, show up and, you know, vomit all over the screen. You know, otherwise, if I would think about it, I'd be like, oh. You know, and it stops your flow, you know. But for some weird reason, we've been taught to be like that, like cookie cutter versions of ourselves, like, you know, as if everyone's like that, you know. It's exhausting. It takes a lot of, you know, it takes a lot of thinking, and it's not a fun way to live, actually. But for some reason, that's what has become more normal. That's more normal than showing up like this. That's more normal. Some weird reason. So maybe we need to create a new normal. So anyway, I think, just checking with myself, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Yeah. it doesn't actually feel as bad as I thought. I thought it was going to be repulsive. I thought I was going to cry. I thought I was going to feel so much shame, but I don't know. The truth will set you free. I remember listening to Lauryn Hill in her MTV Unplugged album, which if you haven't heard it is just epic and unbelievable. I think she's like a prophet. You know, she says that confess, 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 you know. Yeah, just, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of, she's saying like when you give yourself up, like, kind of like people stop bothering you, you know, like they're not trying to look for your mistakes anymore because you've already given them up. You know, it's no fun, you know, fun to fight if you give yourself up. Amanda Palmer says that in her song Dear Daily Mail, because I've addressed you directly, because I've undressed you directly, that can also be a word. Because I've addressed you directly, I've made myself no fun to fight. Yeah, I'll also try and remember to put that in the description of this video because it's one of my favorite all-time videos online. All right, well, that's enough from me then. So I'm going to put on a weird accent now. I don't know what it is. While we're at judgment, the other thing I hate is I hate the lines here on my forehead. I wish I had Amanda Palmer's courage. She just really lets, you know, she just lets these lines be really strong. But like, oh, I hate seeing when I have like lines here. Okay, so that's it from me. Hope this video was okay. It's a long one today, but fuck it. It's gonna take me it's probably gonna take 8 hours to upload this thing because I tell you what, uploading time sometimes drives me crazy. Got an itch. This is gonna be a hard one. Okay. So yeah, I just really had to get that off my chest. I'm not really sure the direction of my channel, but I know that there's so much that I want to say, and there's so much that I want to share actually on the things in my life that I've overcome. I feel like I want to be a lot more vulnerable. I want to be, I would really want to share my authentic truth about my journey. And, you know, there's been some really fucking hard times and I want to share about it, you know, so I will be doing that in my videos. And if that's still something that you're interested in, then I'd love it if you would stay and follow. Press the subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications. Apparently that's important. Like, why do they make people do 2 steps? It's like psychologically annoying. Like, you can't just press the subscribe button. You have to press the subscribe, then you have to go to the bell, and then you have 3 options and you have to click all. Like, it's like almost 3 steps. I don't understand why YouTube did this. It's ridiculous. And so if my videos don't show up in the feed, you won't know that they're there unless you've done this, you know, 3-step process of like subscribe, move over to the bell, click on all. I don't agree with it, but like it's annoying. But yeah, otherwise you'll never see my content, you know. So if you want to see my content, that's what you have to do. I would also love to, you know, to build my subscribers here and build, you know, build a new audience, build new people so that, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, predominantly I think my audience is men, which is lovely, and my patrons have been super supportive, but, you know, I'd like some women to show up, you know, and hear their voices too. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. All right, thanks. I feel good. Go to bed now. Leave y'all alone. All right, have a good night or morning or wherever it is in your country. Sleep well or wake up good. Go eat your breakfast.